If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can walk the walk.
Welcome to Talk the Walk. I'm DT Elam alongside J.B. Barassos. Today we have two leagues, the Undisputed Fight League and TRU SIM Undisputed Boxing League, with representatives from both sides. Today's episode will be tackling important concerns within the boxing community. As you can see on the right of the screen, each guest will have a minute and 50 seconds to give their opinion. At the end of each topic, we'll give the guest time to rebuttal. But let's cut straight to the chase. Start off first matter at hand. Is this a niche market?
You know, I definitely don't think this game is for a niche market. I mean, we're talking about a game here that sold over 1 million units within its first 2 weeks of retail release. It just goes to show you the demand for a new boxing game. Fight Night Champion sold 2 million copies total, and that's been over the last 14 years. That game came out in 2011. It's still actively played. There's even quite a few leagues that still host rankings and have regular tournaments. You got the capital from the large sales volume that puts SCI in a great place financially to continue to make this game better for a long time. There's been a resurgence in boxing, in my opinion, due to the Turkey Man, also known as Turkey League, in the former Riyadh season. I don't think they're going to invest $20 million into something that they thought was going to be carved out for a niche audience. The amount of sales, along with the huge interest in Undisputed, has really fueled some rumors of EA getting back into the ring of the new boxing game. People are excited for a great boxing experience. And, no matter what side you're on, good or bad, there's no doubt that people are passionate about this game. What do you guys think, Burger?
I think since the absence of the game, it's been over like 13 years since they made a boxing game. So that need for it was always like craving. It was like ready to explode. And when the news came out they were making a boxing game, people were dying to see what it would be like, since it's not done by EA and it's, a whole different competitor. And I think, people wanted it. It's been a long time. It's been one of those times that the community needed.
All right. Bad man.
Yeah, so right now, I think in my lifetime, right now, the boxing is like probably the most popular it's been. And I think that goes a long way to showing that the market for this game is so wide. And right now it's a great time for the game because boxing's so popular. I mean, what they're doing with Riyadh season, and then on top of that, with influencer boxing, you've got a whole generation of boxing fans that are being exposed to boxing for the first time. And, on these broadcasts, they're going to be able to see boxing and then maybe an advertisement for this game, or they're going to Google, like, what's a good boxing game that's out? And right now, this is the only one that's out. And I think that, along with the fact that boxing in general, but really in the U.S., it's so popular right now. Typically in the U.S., we are all about the heavyweights, but right now there's so many different, characters, and you've got $1 million or million buy pay-per-views all the time. So I think it's a great time for the game. They put it out like at a perfect time, and I think that the market for this is wide open. Donnie, what do you think?
I think, going by the definition, fighting games themselves are pretty niche. It's kind of undeniable. They'll sell big numbers, but when we're going through the definition, they struggle to capture as much a dedicated player base as you'll see as other types of games. But that's just my opinion.
All right, great, guys. This is J.B. Barassos here. We thank you, guys. I don't think there's any rebuttal here. We all seem to be on the same page with this. But I wanted to mention there may be some listeners wondering what qualifies these gentlemen to be guests and speak about Undisputed. And just wanted to make mention that the representative from TRU SIM, Grumpy has over 1,400 hours playing this game. The Burger Man has over 1,200 hours playing. Bad Man from the Undisputed Fight League has 1,000 hours plus. And Donnie, I'm sure you have it probably just as many. And these guys go way back to Fight Night Champion and even further back, and with a lot of experience of boxing games. So we feel they're very qualified to comment. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one is casual or sim. We'll go ahead and start out with the Undisputed Fight League. Guys, is this game casual mode, sim mode? Is there a difference? How is it different? And do you feel like maybe there should be two distinct settings? Sim plays one way and casual mode plays a different way without having to go and adjust things. Or what do you feel about it?
So I definitely think the idea of there being like a separate mode, just casual or just sim, that is a good idea. I do think that in general, this game currently is catering more to a casual audience as far as the game, how it plays, how a player could pick up the game and within maybe an hour or so pretty much have the mechanics down to the point where they could be competitive with people sort of in their level bracket. Um, and as far as the sim style, there is a market for sim play. I mean, we're both here representing leagues, so that is kind of more of a sim style play. There's a big market for that, but I think in general, this game, the direction that it's taken is trying to capture more of a casual, mainstream player base. But Donnie, what do you think about that?
It's actually quite cool. Casual versus sim mode is actually something that was put forward by the developers very early in its development. It was something that was actually said that was going to come into fruition very, very early. I'm talking 3 years ago. They wanted to create this difference between the casual and the sim player base. I personally feel it doesn't really need to happen, as the games like UFC have shown that they can stick to their original roots and be true to possible without making it too difficult for people to pick up and slowly learn. I think boxing as an art should be pretty hard to. I don't think you should just pick up a control and instantly be able to throw like the best combinations. I think it needs that skill gap.
Okay, very good. Let's send this now to the True Sim guys. What do you think there, Burger Man?
I think it's needed for a casual fan. Casual. It's made for a broad audience, so a casual trying to pick up the controller and trying to learn the best way they can, and just want to have fun with it. It's people who just want to have fun. They don't think about the the science of it. So, and when you go to casual mode, you see the HUD, you see the rounds, and it's easier for someone who's never really saw boxing before to be like a guideline for them. And as for the sim mode, that's more for the avid fans. That's for people who just want to make that experience like as at its purest form. And I think there's two different fan bases for it. And depending who you are, you either choose casual or sim.
Yeah.
Very good. Grumpy.
Yeah, the way you got to look at it is the simulation and mode is definitely more for the boxing purist who wants to really engage in the game as the real boxer would in the ring. Casual mode is geared towards more of the casual player, has definitely more of an arcade style feel to it. Unfortunately, with the sim mode setting, that is only available in local play or through a third party application, i.e., Parsec if you're playing on PC, PlayShare on the PS5. There aren't any options currently to play this way with the Xbox, which makes it a real bummer for the Xbox community that wants a full simulation game to play. It does sort of seem like an inconvenience to play with these third-party options, but there are definitely multiple advantages it can provide. The desync and deconnection issues are pretty much non-existent because it bypasses the game's traditional netcode. Means no ghost punches. The directional blocking works a little bit differently than it does with the non-sim setting. There's no heads-up display on the screen for the sim setting. The stamina drain seems to definitely work differently, as well as, like I had said, the blocking. Falls and instant replays are also in when you play this way. But I do agree. I think there needs to be two different settings for online play as well, a casual and a sim mode. but obviously that's going to take a back seat because I don't think any of that's going to matter until they take care of the online netcode issues with the desync and the delay, because that's the biggest underlying problem that causes most of these issues.
Okay, Grumpy. Hey, I have a question for you guys while we're on this topic. You guys both run leagues and you have some rules in place. And I wonder if you could maybe explain to us what those rules are and how they are different from when people just play the lobby online compared when you join a league and you are uh, uh, being required to play sim fashion. Maybe we could start with Badman and then come back to Grumpy since you guys run these leagues and tell us something about that.
Oh, for sure. So in our league, we have a limit on the hooks that you can do and power shots. And really, what this is we want it to be a true skill, an example of your true skill as a simulation boxer. And so we have some rules on hooks and as well as power shots, but we also have rules as far as the the pushes in the game. There's a push mechanic for those that don't know, and we do have some rules about that. And then probably one of the biggest is we have rules. We have a few fighters who are just auto banned because they're a little bit OP and kind of broken.
Okay, very good. And Grumpy.
Yeah, oddly enough, we do have quite a few similar rules set in place. We do have a cap on the punch percentage that you can throw at 30%, which we might end up revisiting that since they have made dramatic changes to it. We go 10 round fights for, what I mean, regular rank matches, 12 round for championship matches. No spam. We're going to get into that topic in a little bit. That's a big one. Um, I think most of these guys in the UFL, they do a pretty good job of keeping it legit, no cheese, no spam. And we do have varying opinions on some of the game settings, such and so on and so forth. But I think at the end of the day, our leagues are a lot more similar than we are different because we're both looking for a clean boxing experience.
Right,
Great.
right. And DT, I'm going to throw something in here. Maybe you'll comment as well. We've got a little bit of time to do this, but I've noticed also when it comes to taking a look at the stats, which we have every fight recorded. Taking a look at the stats, you can see someone throw an awful lot of hooks, but it doesn't tell you whether they're throwing the hooks to the head or whether they're throwing the hooks to the body, and it doesn't take into account their style of play. You may have a really tall, rangy fighter with a long reach, leaning back, throwing hooks to the head, hooks to the body, but there's no way to account for that without watching and reviewing and recording. So how do you feel about that, Mr. Elam?
Well, JB, I think that you hit it right there on the head. It's all about kind of the review on that, and styles are different. I mean, you look at someone like Joe Frazier, who had broken his arm as a kid, couldn't really throw a proper jab, but his arm set back perfectly to throw that left hook. You look at someone like that, and his style of fighting was so many hooks. Uh, Floyd Patterson threw a whole lot of hooks and flurries. So there's certain ways to try to make the game as close to the actual fighter that it's representing to look like them fighting inside these leagues without there being numbers on it. So I think the review would definitely be the only way to really do that.
All right. Well, we'll turn the next topic over to Mr. DT Elam.
All righty. The next topic we got up here is power shots. And the power shots, as we've seen inside the game, those that have been following the game and playing the game from update to update, from early release, we've seen the power shots go from to where someone can throw 300 power shots in a fight to where someone can't really throw 60 power shots in a fight. But it all depends. We want to know, is this an exploit? We want to know, is this something that's broken in the game? Because the power shot in the game is just a power modifier and not an actual power shot, as in real boxing, where a power shot would be your hooks or uppercuts, crosses. So let's go over to the guys from the UFL. Badman, what do you feel about the power shots?
So yeah, obviously with the power shot. So those who aren't familiar, so when the game first released, we'll call that the last build. In the last build, there was a way where you can throw a bunch of power shots and not really have accurate stamina drain. That now in the current version of the game is basically gone. So I think they've done a good job at addressing the power shot spam issue. Now I think we maybe went a little bit too far to that side, and now we need to find this middle ground where a player can throw a power shot, like you said, use the power modifier. But now there's not really a chance to throw them too often without your stamina being drained, and there still is a bit of an issue with stamina drain for non-power shots versus power shots, which I'm sure that they're going to address. They've made a lot of improvements with this and made a lot of improvements with the stamina overall. So I think as far as power shots, they've done better, and they're going to continue to hone that in. Donnie, what do you think?
I completely agree. I think going into 1.0, which was the full release version of the game, power shots were extraordinarily overpowered. You could throw them with absolutely zero stamina deterrent. They've done a good job of implementing a stamina difference to stop people from doing that, but that's now bled through into non-power, stopping people from throwing 3 or 4 punches without gassing out, and it's causing an issue for some players who are the pressure fighters who want to come forward and throw multiple shots. And they haven't really changed the southpaw power shots, which have always, since the very, very start of the game 2 years ago, been a massive issue with their speed and strength in some cases.
All right. True Sim, Grumpy, what you say about power shots?
Coming from a true simulation league, you got to make the distinction between, in my opinion, what is a real power punch and what the game considers, I like to call the power shot. Obviously, as you guys know, in real boxing, any punch you throw that isn't a jab is considered a power punch. Undisputed had holding the button. You can put extra power in the shots, whatever punch you want to throw. Little extra oomph on it. Well, these punches are considered by the game as power shots. People easily get confused. They're two totally different metrics. In real boxing, there isn't any button to hold to affect the amount of force you put in behind your punch. And how you translate this into the game, I'm not exactly sure. Power shots and the stamina drain seemed okay, in the early access build. After retail, like Donnie had said, you had an issue where the power shots were just ridiculous because it wouldn't drain your stamina. You could sit there and put 300 power shots out in a fight and no problem. And that's the way the majority of the online community played. The November patch did significantly increase the long and short term stamina costs with your power shots, along with all of your other shots at the same time. A lot of people in community feel that SCI overcorrected, and now people are severely punished for not only missing their power shots, but your regular non-power shots as well. This causes your players to be, much more aware of how many punches they're throwing, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. But I do think that they potentially could have overcorrected.
Burger Man?
The 1.0 update, I got the idea for the full release. Power shots was probably like people were like on early access, they didn't feel like the punch didn't have enough umph in them. So I guess for the idea for full release was to have that umph. And when the game came out, it became an exploit, and people were just spamming power shots, and it made that and just abusing the mechanism. And then, it became unenjoyable online for people who just want to play the game and not get spammed. Now, with the new update, they corrected it. They corrected the power shots where there is a consequences of how many you throw, and plus regular punches too. Like it takes a lot of stamina, and I think it's in the right direction. But I still feel like there needs to be a balance to it too. Because people want to have fun and people just want to play the game sometimes. But is it good? Is the update good and heading in the right direction? Sure.
Very good, Burger. Are there any rebuttals here? Anything to go back and forth with? Or is everybody happy that we're on the same page?
All good.
There's
I agree with
crickets.
I agree
So
with
I
the
think
points they
we're
made.
good.
Great.
All
Both
right.
sides
And
on the same side of the fence on this.
yeah, and just one comment on this, that the difference between the casual and the sim, of course, with the sim mode, you have no visuals to tell you your health or your stamina. And to me, it really turns this into a strategic thing where you've got to really know your stuff and know your fighter. And it makes it a chess match, which I kind of thoroughly enjoy. So, anyway, we're going to move on. We'll leave this with True Sim. And why don't we put you on the spot first? And the subject of spamming has come up over and over in this conversation. So I'd like you, if you could define this for us, and what you think spam is, and what you feel spam is, and take into account fighter styles, and just give us your thoughts.
Spamming is usually considered the repeated use of the same punch or slip or shove. Most leagues have rules regarding these subjects. Most of the time, it comes in the form of a punch or other game mechanic that, for one reason or another, is overly effective. Early access had spamming issues with the body uppercuts as well as step back straight. That was a big issue. You would have, go in and against somebody that would throw 400 body uppercuts. And this was the majority of the online population. Luckily, they listened to the community and they fixed that for full launch, and that was great. But at the same time, you came with the power shot spam, repeatedly throwing power shots, no real stamina consequences. Luckily, with the patch, they've taken care of that. Another real controversial, especially in the sim world, punch is the hook. Um, it's been very touchy subject. You have a large amount of hooks that can be thrown and not considered spam. You may have somebody that throws 400 fight not be considered spam, but when you're talking about somebody that throws 400 hooks in a fight, 8 to 10 rounds, and you say they throw 3 jabs, 0 straights, and 6 uppercuts in those 8 to 10 rounds, that's definitely not going to be realistic and is going to be considered spam by most people. The November patch pretty much addressed the issue with the shove by heavily increasing the stamina. So that's definitely a plus. But unfortunately, with every change and update, people are always going to find a way to spam or cheese the game. What is considered spam and what isn't considered spam is a greatly debated topic in the community. What
All
you got to
right,
say
I think
about
we
that,
got Burger
Burger?
back online.
I kind of agree. When you go online and you just do online matches, anything goes. It's a free for all. It's like either you're gonna win or you're gonna lose. But how you win is debated on who is the best spammer, in my opinion. I feel like there's no rules in online, and that doesn't make the game as a it doesn't make the game look good as in terms of sport of boxing. Now, luckily, we have leagues, and you can if you're looking for them, they are out there, and they're specific rules where you have to fight like a boxer, So it takes away from the exploit from spamming, and no matter what update you're playing, like Grumpy said before, they're always gonna try to exploit the game. So it's hard to emulate the sport at its T since it's a game, but fortunately, there's leagues out here that try to dedicate that to as much as possible as a simulation part of the game.
Okay, DT, I'm going to share something and then throw it over to you. But for me, spam is you meet a Roy Jones Jr. in the ring, and he repeatedly, over and over and over, not over a period of a fight, but I mean right then and now, is throwing right uppers to the body over and over and over and over, one after the other, as fast as he can. To me, that's spam. Where a lot of hooks over a period of a fight may not be spam. DT, what have you seen whenever you've played? Because you're also a boxer in these leagues as well.
It's a lot like Badman alluded to earlier, whenever they said that their league actually banned some of the OP fighters, which would be another subject for another day. But certain fighters have certain attribute boosts inside the form of excuse me about that. I can't remember what they're called, but whenever you have like a flurry fist or a right bomb or a left hook, when you're able to string together more punches or when you're able to increase your speed with these extra attribute boosts. I mean, that's the thing. Some fighters are more easily able to spam inside that manner. But I'm with you, whereas throughout a fight, throwing the majority of hooks doesn't necessarily mean someone spammed. Let's see, Donnie, how do we feel about the spamming?
Spamming has been a massive issue in Undisputed since the very start. It's gone through many iterations, as previously stated, through the body uppercut, the power shot spam, or the Tyson Fury's right power straight. It's gone through many issues, and like you said, there's a very highly debated topic about it. But the issue is that there's never been any type of vulnerability system. That's the main issue. There's like people wouldn't be able to spam these type of shots if they could make and pay, like leaning down into uppercutting and increasing the power. There's no such type of system. And I think that's really the main thing we need to focus on, is that there is a lack of a vulnerability system. There is nothing to deter these players from throwing these type of shots, because there's nothing coming back their way that will end the fight in an instant.
All right, bad man.
Yeah, as far as spamming, I mean, like some of y'all said, when you queue into an online match and you just face whoever around the world that it matches you up against, most of the time you're going to have an experience that will include spamming. I'll talk about it a little bit from a league perspective. In a league, we can do certain things to help the spamming, especially with like hooks or power shots or any other sort of broken mechanic. Pushes from the last patch. In a league setting, it's rather easy to control some of those factors, so it's not as much of a problem. But the thing that happens is, because it's a league and because this game is so popular and new players every day, you're going to get new players that come in and they're just not going to know. They're not going to know that what they've experienced online is spam. And so they're going to bring that into the league, and then you have this whole sort of onboarding friction situation where someone may not know that they're spamming. And so I think just anything that they could do, like Donnie, had a couple good points. Y'all had some good points as far as things to fix that more casually. Anything they could do on spam overall would be a giant improvement.
Very good. Okay, DT, this is in your lap now for the next topic.
All right, so the next topic is going to be collision detection, which some would call punch tracking. The issues with this since the update has definitely been voiced inside the community. So let's go ahead and go right over to the UFL and go to Badman. Badman?
Yeah, so in this most recent update, what they did was a lot of good things, and I think a unintended result of some of the changes they made is this current issue of collision detecting or punch tracking, and the community might call it hit registration or whatever term we use. It all basically means the same thing. The player's intending to throw a shot that should hit, and for some reason, it just does not. That is just part of this current build right now. It's not really been in any other version of the game up until now. So I think it's something that can be fixed, and it should be fixed, because what you see is a lot of people that just pick up the game and play. That's not going to feel good for them. They might not know anything about boxing, but they know if they're standing in front of someone and throw a punch that should hit and it doesn't hit, that doesn't feel good. So this is something that I'm sure will work on. Right now, it's definitely an issue. Could be one of the biggest issues in the game. Donnie, what do you think about it?
I think collision detection has been more of an issue than people that come to believe, but it's been negated by the block and stuff. For example, in 1.0, there was too many punches landing through the block. It was almost as if the block no longer existed. People were landing in excess of 60, even 70% of shots in a fight, which anyone who really knows anything about boxing, we never see anyone landing 60% of their shots unless they're Floyd Mayweather in the best of cases. So I think what they intended to do was try and lower that and try and get people to land at a lower percentage. But what they've missed out is that it should be up to the player to make you miss instead of it being coded into the game to make you miss.
All right. So now over to the Undisputed Boxing League. What do y'all say about collision detecting? Grumpy.
Collision detection really didn't seem to be too much of an issue until after full release. Definitely noticeable after that. Your initial issue was that the punches, especially the power shots, would bleed through your opponent's guard. In the attempt to fix this, it seems like almost as with the stamina, they sort of overcorrected a little bit. You have the issue where even well-placed and timed shots seem to be blocked or missed altogether. This mechanic on top of the ghost punching and the desync issues, when you're trying to fight your opponent can make things very, very frustrating. Especially the people that already have amazing defense that have the skills in the game. I mean, sometimes it feels like they're untouchable. The multiple physics issues in the game also affect the punch tracking. Example, if my arm is stuck behind my back, how am I supposed to throw a punch with that arm? Luckily SCI is well aware of the physics issues as well as the collision detection and are actively working on these. Once again, seems to me anyway to be slightly more of an issue online, and I think that really just deals with being with the delay you have and the desync issues. It doesn't seem to be as bad third party or offline, but it's definitely still there.
Well, I feel like once they can fix the desync to the game or the netcode, whatever issue they have, I think most of these problems will go away. And that's my opinion, I think the game is struggling with the desync, and a lot of these issues is caused by that. And once they fix that or change the netcode, I think this will be a better game to play for the online experience.
Very good, Booker. Thank you. Okay, we're going to hit our last topic, which is pre-release or retail release. Which is better? Or is there a mixture between those two that might be best, that SCI might be working on at this time? Let's throw this over to the UFL.
All right, so there's definitely some parts of past versions that are better. I picked up the game the very first day of early access, and there was certainly some things about the game back then that were just clunky and not right, but it's early access. But then there were some aspects of it that were great, and I think they nailed it. And I think perhaps back then maybe there was a vision for more of a sim a sim experience in the game. And now I think maybe they're going a bit more for a casual experience, and so part of the changes could be in an effort to accomplish that goal. But I certainly think anyone that played early access and is now playing this current version, I would assume that they would have to agree there were some things about early access that they had better than they have now. Donnie, what do you think about it?
In my personal opinion, and I've made this pretty clear to anyone who really knows me, but I feel pre-release is by a mile better than what we have now, just in terms of the skill gap that was in the game. If you were a good player going against someone who wasn't as skilled, it was very abundantly clear. You could make them miss, you could set up shots and execute them really well. And I just feel that's what Undisputed currently is lacking. It's cluttered by arcadey mechanics that have just reduced that skill gap and have allowed players who are just picking up the controller for the first time to be somewhat effective against the hardened veterans. I think the counter system was better. I think the desync was slightly better. Somehow it's gotten slightly worse recently. The flow of the game was better. But in fairness to them, going into 1.0, the combination punches have gotten better. They have worked on the animations. It was one of the main points that people have been saying for quite a while, that the animations weren't as good. They were slightly clunky. And now they're really nice. They've done a really good job on the animations in the state of the power punches, the hooks, the straights, the jabs, and putting them all together to make it look like very realistic.
Yeah, we all know that early access, especially the zero point 0.7 update, was a complete mess. I mean, we were stuck with this version of the game for so long. Some of the biggest issues were obviously the body uppercut, step back straight. These think ghost punches at times made the game feel almost unplayable. Um, you know, Playing League, if you found the right people to play with, it was not that bad, but the online experience was not much fun. Undisputed League started helping with a lot of the problems. A lot of people still don't know about these leagues. And unfortunately, like Badman had alluded to earlier, a lot of these people that come to join these leagues, once they do find out about them, have some very bad habits with spamming. And because the majority of these people, that's all they're accustomed to fighting online is people to do this. And sometimes if the skill gap is pretty big, that's the only way you're going to be able to compete is just pull the same spam move over and over again that they're doing. um, then along comes retail release, the physics and desync aside, I think it was a fresh new way to play. They listened, they took care of the body uppercut, step back straight. Did bring some other issues with stamina, power punches. The meta was to spam power over and over again. They sort of adjusted this, eliminated a good majority of the spammers and cheese players from the online community. And even a lot of people may think it was a little overdone. I feel it probably is a huge improvement over the previous vision. Is it perfect? No. But Ash and his team at SCI know what the issues are. Their entire point of the survey they put out was in order to ask, you and I as a consumer, what the most important issues for them to work on is going to be going forward. You know,
I felt like early access. I think early access was the better game overall. I think when they dropped Khan for the first time, and I was able to move with him, even though he was OP, I was able to use the weak mechanic so easily. I was able to get out punches. Like the desync wasn't so bad. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. Yeah, you had the body uppercut, you had the back straight, but there were certain elements to that game. I think the meta was, I think, counter punching at that time, and I just felt like I was playing a boxing game, you know, and not all of the aspects of early access were good, but they weren't bad either. But it was better than what we have for full release. I think full release they were listening to, I guess, the casuals, in my opinion, because they wanted to sell the game, and they overdid when the full release dropped. They overdid it with the power punching, and I didn't think they was thinking about people exploiting the game. And then when they dropped the full release, people just went to the power punch spam, and it was able to exploit the game, and ruin the experience for the online experience for the consumer. Um, is is full release terrible? Yes. Would I rather prefer early access? Yes. If that's my answer.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Well, guys, that's everything. Now, Mr. Elam, I know you're going to want to wrap this up, but I wanted to throw this out at you and give us both a chance since we've listened to both sides now. Do you have any final thoughts, Mr. Elam?
Well, I think final thoughts in conclusion is that these two leagues want the same things. There wasn't any rebuttals there. No one got a minute inside the cut man's corner there to give their piece on what they thought. But the grass was the same color on both sides of this fence here. And I think overall we as a community in whole, not just a league here, a league there, or even the casual players, but everyone seems to want the same things here. And I think that judging from our last topic here, I believe that a lot of people they were into the pre-release, JB.
Mm-hmm.
They were into the pre-release.
Okay, very good, DT. Now, my final thought is just a comment that I think SEI has taken on a huge undertaking, and it's not easy. They're a small company, and I think their vision is for a great game, but it comes with a lot of weight because you can tell by the men speaking here uh, in this podcast that there's a lot of passion for a boxing game. And I would just say we need to give SCI some props for what they have accomplished, continue to support them in their endeavor to make a great game. And I think it's just going to get nothing but better and better as time goes on. So, Mr. Elam, I thank you for sharing this time with me. Why don't you go ahead and take care of our guests?
All righty. Well, for True Sim Undisputed Boxing League, Grumpy, Burger Man. For Undisputed Fighting League, Bad Man, Donnie, we really appreciate you being here today with us on Talk the Walk. I'm DT Elam alongside J.B. Barassos. Thank you for joining us today.
If you can't walk the walk, don't talk the talk. If you can't walk the walk, don't talk the talk.